Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Cybersecurity Summit Southeast Asia. We're currently joined in a panel discussion titled Cloud Computing as a Determining Factor in Cybersecurity. With me, I have three amazing speakers, but before I introduce them, allow me to introduce myself a little bit. Ria did a good job, but just to add on a little bit, right? I'm Priyanka, and I'm the Product and Training Manager in Cybertronium. On top of conducting cybersecurity services and assessments for our clients, I'm also a trainer who conducts both online and physical cybersecurity trainings and certification courses. I specialize in cyber threat intelligence, threat hunting, and predictive intelligence, amongst others. Now on to our speakers for the session. First up, we have Mr. Erik Looi. Erik is the CIO of ASEAN Group of Companies, headquartered in Penang, Malaysia, as Alliance Contract Manufacturing Sdn Bhd. In the industry for 29 years, he has helped to enable ASEAN over the last 16 years from a single business concern in Penang to additional 6 manufacturing locations across different countries in Asia Pacific, Europe, and North America. He oversees ASEAN Group IT roadmaps and policies, driving innovation and transformation enablement, and is responsible in managing the ASEAN Group corporate IT. Next, we have Mr. Arivuvel Ramu. Ramu is the Group CTO at TONIK, heading digital banking IT organization. Ramu brings over 18 years of information technology, enterprise architecture, product development, IT operations, innovation, and IT security experience in both digital legacy, banking, and telco verticals. He has built and launched the first neobank in Southeast Asia, TONIK Bank, from ground up, heading engineering, cloud technology, operation, security, and procure management divisions for the bank. Lastly, we have Mr. Karunanand Menon. Karun has been working on application security and identity access management since 2002 and have worked in a range of capacities from application development to domain consultancy. He has covered geographies ranging from the Middle East to Australia during his career and has worked in product principal companies and system integration companies in the IDM space. Today, Karun works at OKTA as a senior sales engineer, focusing on their workforce and customer identity solution. Now, on to the topic at hand. My first question is for Mr. Erik. Erik, as a manufacturing company, why did you decide to move to the hybrid cloud? What are the considerations taken in this adoption?
Hi, can you all hear me? Yes, right? Good, thank you. Thank you for having me. Great introduction, Priya. So short answer is best of both worlds, basically. When I mention this, I do not imply that on-premise is any lesser. Yeah. You have stated that we are manufacturing, and I think manufacturing is very much a physical side of business. Yeah, we need to be at the production and things like that. And then when we look at on-premise, the data centers are now being managed cloud-like. So if you want to compare whether it is on-premise or cloud, they are managed quite similarly. But there is a vast difference. Now I'm going to tell you that, and basically we are going for hybrid, meaning that both we are applying both, and it really depends on your business. Now, if you're looking at the Industry 4 framework, which manufacturers are driving to, it actually indicates where we are going in terms of business and manufacturing efficiency. Yeah, and what I can say is Industry 4 is basically on connectivity, meaning that you connect to everything, yeah, in order to collect information. Now, why cloud comes in? Cloud has been in place for quite some time. Now, the reason why we need leverage cloud is the primary consideration is the speed to market. What we are considering is how fast we are going to change according to our customers' demand. Yeah, I think at this moment, cloud is the only platform which allows us to do that and to be agile. Yeah, if you look at the S curve, it is getting slimmer, and by the time you market your product or your service, it's you already have something at the back which is actually needed to be delivered. Now, why? What are the consideration we take is, if I go back to Industry 4, one of the key pillars of Industry 4 is IoT. Yeah, besides cybersecurity. Yeah, these are the 9 pillars. Now, when you talk about IoTs, we talk about multitudes of things that can be connected to your business. And security is paramount in order to make sure that these things connected to our organizations are secured, they are identified, and they are authenticated. Yeah. So what I would like to stress is, when we go into the cloud, we are getting different types of services. Yeah, and these services determine the security level of what you need to consider. Now, my consideration here is I need to develop solutions fast. I do not want to reinvent the wheel. Yeah, we have Karun telling that, there's more than just a login screen. So there are things happening behind. We are not going to reinvent the wheel. We are going to try to apply industry standards to our solutions so that we are, in a way, comply to certain standards, and we do not have to think of, spend too much time. In a nutshell, spend more time on the business and less on worrying on the technicalities. Yeah, that is the manufacturing side of considerations. Priya.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you so much. All right. The next one is for Mr. Arivuvel. As a digital banking company, how do you balance the compliance requirements put forth by regulators versus cloud adoption? Is hybrid cloud the only way, or do you believe that banks can run completely from the cloud? And what are the current challenges that you're facing?
Excellent question, Priya. Thank you for that. And good afternoon, one and all. I'm Ramu, Group CTO of TONIK. The good part is the bank born in cloud. That's where I want to start with. So you can understand the complexity, and the question might be relevant to put it, share the knowledge. Let me put it this way. When you say, how do you balance the compliance? Financial institutions are, regulated entities. You should not forget that. Instead of, irrespective of your innovation, you call it yourself as a tech company or a fintech, but it's end of the day, it's regulated entity, which means PDPA, Personal Data Protection Act, which is a data privacy, and data residency, which means your data security, is both are country specific today. For example, if you want to operate something with Indonesia, it's different regulations. If you want to run with Philippines, different regulations, Singapore, different regulations today. The innovations are within the regulation, even though regulators are accepting the changes nowadays, and it's not happening in the speed of innovation. No, there is a slowness. We have to accept the truth. However, my case, we chose Philippines as our pilot market, because not just a market attraction, it is just because of regulator who allow us to innovate things in the speed which we wanted. So coming back to the data residency, which is the key for cloud adaptation. If the data residency is it's strict, and forget about your cloud strategy. It's all going to be on-prem and restricted access. So the regulator allow you to play with data residency liberalization with cloud security. So for our case, what we worked with BSP, the technology can run from any part of the world, provided we agree on certain things. For example, the technology must be SOC 2 compliance. The cloud security is strict to ensure application networks and data, all three are not compromised to support your CAA from a framework. And your DLP, data loss prevention, is strictly enforced. This is what compliance want. Are we tick all the boxes with your technology security strategy in place to handle it? Then we are good to go for either single cloud or multi-cloud. For my case, I did with multi-cloud part. Second question you thrown me, do you believe the banks can run completely from the cloud? So it is interlinked now. Yeah, the first part I answered based on the local regulation. Second part, irrespective of regulation, if you look at any banking application, you can split into two ways. One is digital front end. Second one is the digital core. The digital core combination of your system of records and operations, system of operations. Probably in a layman term, digital front end talking about your mobile apps, your web applications, or internet banking, your these are all I'm talking about your channels. If you look at the digital core, it is where your sensitive informations can be processed and stored and managed, which can be your core banking. It can be your anti-money laundering. It can be your fraud system. It can be your card management system. So where the sensitive informations are processed and stored and secured, where there is a higher level of security required, this is where the challenge will come in. Do you want to go by best in breed technology, or you want to go by out of box capability? So typically, irrespective of any country operating digital front end moving into cloud, it is most of the guys as a digital transformation team now. That is what they are adapting, which is part of the two-speed consulting approach from McKinsey. Most of the digital transformation companies are adapting to push the the legacy companies to transform themselves in the speed of putting digital front end to cloud, because you will not store any sensitive information. But system of records, you need to carefully take it, because the investment would be 10 years investment, 15-year investment. You cannot throw in one day. Second, even though the country allows you to innovate, but you have investment attached, you can slowly move probably a new system you can bring into the cloud, provided there is a government alignment, regulatory alignment. For example, Malaysia is now opening up. Still, most of the companies are still running in local. Singapore, yeah, we are talking, and we have mostly hybrid cloud. Public clouds are limited, and the digital front end can be run in a public cloud. Probably you might hear the recent DBS story as well, or 3 days outage on single point of failure, which is again fall in security. So this is where we need to trade off properly, which part we can go into cloud. Digital front end is no brainer. System of records and operation can be, thought through properly in terms of cost, in terms of security, in terms of control. So last question within that you have probably thrown to me about current challenges. It is all about, which our Erik talked about, quick go-to-market. Because of quick go-to-market, a lot of people, say, hey, I'm in the cloud, I'm in cloud. Without proper strategy, proper control measures, proper governance, they will run into it. And that's where the breaches and issues are coming up, where we need a centralized IAM capability, centralized API security. Because when you move into cloud, everything is APIs. Everything, the data flow through APIs. Are we having the internal, external, and partners all connected through a proper governance and control mechanism? Today, even though we are talking too much about SUSE and zero trust, but yeah, the adaptation and the maturity level in cybersecurity in a cloud manner is still evolving. We are not there in the where we were supposed to be there, and the adaptation we are all learning together. But the huge challenge today is the fraudsters are learning the way we're learning as well. So the account hijacking, for example, organized crimes, and even though you are innovating, the people are not innovating. People still, if you are targeting mass affluent, emerging affluent, people are willing to give their user ID and password OTPs, irrespective. You put 3-level, 4-level of security. You have to pump a lot of trainings and awareness programs. So that is the key challenges I'm seeing. Over to you, Priyanka. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramu. Karun, this one's for you. As a cloud service provider, what is your take in zero trust architecture in cloud? Is it easy to achieve a zero trust on-prem or in cloud?
Yeah, thanks, Priya, for that. I like the way Ramu put it, right? So basically saying that you have to look at demographics of your users and your context of your industry. So I can, as a service provider, as a product vendor, I would have my own view of zero trust security, but really zero trust architecture is really, first of all, a mindset and how you need to build that base foundation. So it's not really products which really help you. It's really how you change your strategy in terms of data handling, your network segmentation, your device strategy, your identity strategy. A lot of these pieces come together, to act as one zero trust ecosystem. And there is it should work in a way that it supports your on-prem as well as your cloud, your internal office going users, as well as your roaming users and all of that, right? So we have to look at it from a perspective of how it makes sense for the organization. Do we just do zero trust for the sake of it? Not really, right? So we really want to do it and where there is real value in zero trust. Like, for example, when there is we've seen some customers come and ask, oh, there is an air gap totally isolated within the data center environment, and we are looking at zero trust strategy for that air gap environment. It really is an overkill sometimes. You can just live with that until you are really forced to move to another kind of architecture. So you really need to put that into perspective, I would say. I think zero trust architecture is important because we've just realized it. I mean, most of the companies really realized it because of COVID and how suddenly things change, and you have to let go of your perimeter all of a sudden. Like, I mean, network as a perimeter is suddenly lost. So it is definitely important, but I would say it has to be a learn and evolve process rather than just build a full stack solution to cater to your needs. There are things which are very fundamental, which is like make future proofing, right? Because you can't just decide on a solution and then later chip away things and move things to a newer solution. So you have to really look at how you could future proof your investments in around this area. Make sure you're actually putting some of this as part of your procurement process. For example, when you're buying new technologies, new CRM solutions, new cloud solutions, and so on and so forth, you make sure you tick all those boxes, and you also make sure you have those fundamentals right in terms of supporting future kind of mobile apps and other strategies, and all those places you have a security alignment so that you're not forcing things post fact, right? So basically you have to make sure that it's kind of like a cultural thing to think zero trust and adopt it. So that's the perception that we see in the market as well. I mean, it changes from industry to industry. Like if I take Erik's example of having OT and IT, there is a lot of convergence going on, but there is the existing OT. You can't throw away OT devices just because they don't talk zero trust, right? So you will mitigate around what is available to you, and you would then progress. Obviously, there's an end goal, which is very holy grail looking and perfectly architectured solution, but you will have to go there in bits and pieces. So really what you need is adaptability and agility, so that you can actually get to the right level of maturity. So that's my take from zero trust as a security practitioner rather than coming from a software vendor, I would say.
All right, thank you so much, Karun. So basically trust nothing and no one. So Erik, coming back to you, there's a common understanding that prevails in the market when you talk about clouds, computing, right? So once I move into the cloud, security is taken care of the cloud provider. We're completely protected, and I will not be hacked. So what is your take on this? What security measures that you have taken to protect your own cloud workloads?
Thank you, Priya. That's a very interesting statement, and how I wish that could happen in the end user point of view. But unfortunately not. Yeah, I think most of the people in the audience knows that. But I would like to stress that it is not at all level. Yeah, if you look at adopting to cloud, you're looking at different as a service. Yeah, it can be infrastructure, platform, software. At this level of services, you are actually outsourcing certain security standards to these cloud providers. Yeah. For example, for infrastructure, you are at the virtualization level. For a platform, you are probably at the security level where they are handling your security, and then the software as a service, meaning that everything is handled by them. Now, there's something about when we talked earlier, yeah, Ramu and also Karun has mentioned this. It's that end user, yeah. Security is at the hands of the end user. You can have a very good security at the end if the user, you just ask, I need to check something on your computer. Can you give me your password? And say, okay, of course. You just have it. That's it. Yeah. So I think the demographic of users and also their behavior, you have to anticipate all this. And when we are talking about how or what security measures that we have to take, apart from the levels where you engage the cloud, it's basically the same framework that you are working on premise now. Yeah, there is basically no change. Now the problem now is looking at the direction things are going, the number of devices, the number of apps that you are going to have. It's really very difficult to manage. Yeah, you are going to have solutions within your company that will help certain business units to have. There's going to be a lot. How are you going to handle? Traditional way is not able to do that anymore. And Ramu has mentioned something about IAM. I think that is a very important thing that when we embark on this, the identity access management framework will actually put in place, yeah, the processes and policies and the technologies which able to help us, yeah, to actually secure the people or the devices which are actually communicating with our organization. Now, besides that, I also heard we are talking about privilege access management as well. I think that is very important. If the person who says, okay, please have your password, and he's the administrator of your organization, I can't think of what will happen. I'm afraid to think of what will happen. And I think this really relates to what Karun's area, yeah, on identity management, verification and so forth. There could be, there must be a standard where the system is able to talk between different service providers, and standards like the cert of X.509 or SAML, where it will actually integrate with a web service or something like that. That plays a key role for us to achieve that kind of a security level. Yeah, I think people are going into that direction. People see that as a need already. I think, yeah, that's my view on it, Priya.
Thanks, Erik. Thank you so much. All right, next one's for Mr. Ramu. I'm going to throw some statistics at you now. Digital banking stats predict that the total number of online and mobile banking users will exceed 3.6 billion by 2024. And in 2020, which is just last year, the total value of payments made using mobile devices reached $503 billion. But at the same time, banks around the world are losing more than $1 trillion to cybercrimes each year. Why do you think it's so difficult to catch the culprit? And what are the measures you've put in place to secure digital banking?
Good numbers, Priya. Good numbers. Yeah, it's motivating me. Yeah, need to open our branches to multiple places as well, and not just restricting ourselves to Philippines. Thank you for that. Yeah, we are smart, right? Same way, our friends who's the cyber crimes, cyber criminals also so smart as they are not uneducated people we are dealing with. We are dealing with very smartest people, well organized crime people, especially in the financial sector. Even in last 1 year, a lot of learning even for us in the developing market. It's a well organized crime which you cannot even assume this might be doable. That is the kind of scenario you will you'll see, which completely they found out the loopholes which in your system before you know there is a loophole. That's a big problem. I know what we foresee. So is it stoppable? I'll say no, very frank. But I can reduce number of attack. I can reduce the amount of the value of the attack. Instead of multi-million-dollar usage, probably I might compromising with a few million per year. That can be reducible. If I am saying no, I am going to zero trust, zero bulletproof. No, I don't think that will be happen, because we are really dealing with more smarter world outside. So how in the cloud world, where you can predict the reducing the number of attack, I did some of the approach implemented. I would like to share. Number one, what I did is isolate my public channel to private channel. Okay, even if because if it is outside in attack versus inside out attack, they are two different. When most of the attack very higher effective when the attackers already come into your channels and got into somewhere system of records or operation side through the intrusions, and they already sitting inside. That's where the biggest problem, because the problem is not outside in. My problem is inside out. Already they came in, you are difficult to found them because they are smart enough through your employees. So we focus mainly two areas. One is on how to control measures on my internal staffs and partners, because when the SaaS world, most of the things managed by partners, either a SaaS service or hosted managed PaaS or IaaS services which are given. And these guys are free hand to get in. And because you don't know, we are playing with SLA. So which is one big threat. And second big threat is remote workforce today, moving workforce and remote workforce, which we are all new to that. And we are opened up now, people log in from home. You think they are logging from home. You are not sure they are moved to coffee day and open their laptops and connecting through VPN. There are things. Are they connected through free Wi-Fi? We don't know. You cannot monitor them really with the camera. All our 3,000, 5,000 employees, difficult, right? So when I look back, what we did, we isolate all the public assets, which is for your public websites, public related portals into different segment. Even if the attacker somewhere get in, they cannot move into a private segment. So completely isolated. There is no connections. There is no way you hack public, move into private. That's one step. Second step, bringing in your perimeter security, which is your VPN, DLP, proxy, firewall, linking to remote workforce. The remote workforce are connected through a centralized IAM capability, for example, kind of Azure AD kind of things with one-factor authentication. And second, you put the minimum security baseline. Don't give any maximum access to any of the workforce related guys. Always give very minimum security benchmark, baseline access level, part of your access control. That is one of the key audit and the governance put in place. And then third, in the cloud world, everything is APIs, putting the OAuth token, those kind of API endpoint security. On top of it, trying to provide bit of remote workforce monitoring, even though the technology is not matured yet. We tried to put MDM, which is easily available, mobile device monitoring and the endpoint monitoring, where it linked to your compliance. So if you're using Office 365 or other security products, where you can easily enable, at least are they not moving the data, or someone is not hacking the data, or if the phone not rooted, the devices are not connected to public Wi-Fi. Those are the things, a simple technology to protect the remote workforce. The biggest concern today is even though most of us are looking at SOC, but the problem with SOCs are non-real time. It's always you have a T+3 or T+7 or T+30. Depends on how SOC is matured. So you're connecting the cloud world with on-prem world. That's a big challenge, which both the world of data need to be moved, and the data is very expensive as well in the cloud world. If you start playing with with it, and your SIM tool, how capable your SIM and to predict and early detection. That's right now we are working on. We are not matured yet. Second angle is your behavioral security. Being everything is digital now, we need to look beyond our normal security approach. We need to look at the device behavior. Is it Priyanka using the device or someone else using the device? So this is the technology we are investing now to understand is the resource, both internal, external, client perspective, as well as internal people, how to, it's not like stopping them, monitoring them, alerting them. That's our first approach, so that we can at least early detection of the warnings, early warning system enablement. I think this is where we are focusing on to reduce the attack. Not we cannot really get away with it, but we can reduce number of attack, and that's where we are focused on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramu. I think that's an impressive list of measures, and I think not all hope is lost. So, Karun, the last one is for us to get a word of advice from you. For companies moving to cloud, as a cloud service provider, what would your top 5 advices on security be?
Yeah, so as a cloud provider, right? So we actually, first of all, just giving a context here, as OKTA has been doing only cloud-based identity. I mean, we never had an on-premise equivalent or a software to ship to our customers from beginning. One of the key things we also do is impart this knowledge of how we run a SaaS service to our customers, because sometimes it's so necessary that you need to understand the working of a SaaS solution for customers to understand how their SaaS their SaaS adoption should be kind of shaped on. So some of the key things we always kind of propose to our customers is really look at what, like for example, we publish our security architecture and all of that so that it's kind of made available. And there are some basic design tenets that you should, ideally speaking, you should look at when you're actually embarking on SaaS adoption specifically, like data segregation and at rest encryption and so on and so forth. So these are some of the technical things that we definitely do advise a lot to our customers. But if you really think of moving to commercial cloud applications from a business point of view, like you're adopting Salesforce, you're adopting other business applications, we always see that you need a starting point or a preparatory baseline setup that you could have it so that you can actually better manage your cloud infrastructure and cloud products. So it's always like what Ramu mentioned, it's you need to have a good device strategy, because ultimately every user is using a device to connect to your cloud or your on-prem apps. So ultimately you still need a very solid device strategy. And the next thing what happens is when the user accesses the application, he needs to be authenticated. So that's where the identity strategy becomes very key. And then you look at it more from access strategy or a data strategy, where how critical it is, what kind of classified data he's able to access during that interaction, right? So you need to put all these together and form like a foundation of how you will do it. You may not connect all of them and make like a perfectly ready solution for your SaaS, but you at least have this in mind and progress slowly towards that. Another key thing is what we've seen now is you need to invest on products which are highly interoperable. There are still MDM solutions which work on silos. There are still SIM solutions which are just log aggregations, but we expect more things to happen from these solutions, and they need to be really giving that interoperability, right? Your identity system should be able to understand device trust of a device based on your MDM solution, or it should be able to understand from your CASB application kind of layer that there is something critical being accessed, and he's probably straying away from his usual pattern of access, right? So these are all like what we need to really think of when you're really adopting cloud. When you're adopting cloud, another key aspect is mostly the functional team would have a spec of what they need from a functional use case standpoint. Security, however, tend to be just a very big non-functional checklist during the RFP process, the procurement process, basically. That's how traditionally security was incorporated into the requirements when you're procuring new SaaS solutions. What we see is most organizations who are very successful in having a good secure SaaS solution have user journey driven security use cases, right? So you actually say, okay, I need to also incorporate what a malicious actor's use case user journey should be, what a security practitioner's user journey should be. So when you look at it more from a user journey approach and more practical approach, you could actually understand what is the underpinnings of onboarding that particular SaaS solution and what all mitigations you need to do. So that is a good evolution that we see, and we actually promote that a lot now, because it's very easy for CISOs also to sell to the board, because a big problem is sometimes CISOs cannot sell this concept to board, and cloud adoption strategy sometimes is always like the security strategy is like lagging behind because business is given priority. But when you incorporate these use case based very open kind of requirements, that really helps in selling the concept of having a good security architecture to your board as well, right? So that's a very key aspect. I think much more than what it used to be from, if you think about from 2019 and all, boards are really aware of security and its implications. So we are at least in a better shape, but it's really about convincing all the stakeholders. So yeah, so that's my word of advice. I'm not sure whether they were 5, but and security from Okta's point of view, we always, like what Sir Ramu mentioned, it's really we look at context. So the context is a very key piece, right? You need to draw on users' context, you need to draw on devices context, you need to draw on all the context which is available to you. The more and more you could do that, the better off you are in defeating those guys who just need to be right once, as we have to be right every time. So that's the kind of the takeaway from our side.
Okay, thank you, Karun, as well as Erik and Ramu, for your time and expertise on the subject matter. We're done with the panel discussion actually, and we're now open for any questions for the panel.